Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Truth Podcast. I'm your host, Hany Rambod, here with my co-host, Austin, and a special guest today that had flown in all the way from Tampa. We got none other than 212 reigning Olympia champion, Derek Lunsford.
Hey, it's good to be here.
Welcome. You know what? If it wasn't for the fact that I saw you just a couple of weeks ago, I'd say I miss you.
I know, man. I that's the first thing I said. I miss you, man. I was like, wait, I just saw you 2 weeks ago. What the heck?
I know. We had Derek come in, basically trying to situate between check-ins, because obviously as he checks in and gets ready for the Olympia this year and all the things that we're doing, we're trying to use the fact that we are now in close proximity to one another. Now that we're based in Dallas, we're right in that mid USA, so that we can go 3 hours to the east, 3 hours to the west. And it's been really nice because it definitely makes a big difference. And especially when we're on Central Time as well, that makes a big difference. And we also have really good facilities in our area to be able to use a lot of different equipment. So it's been really good, especially with the fact that I'm working on our own gym and being able to get my own facility rolling at some point. That's all starting as well, but I'm not trying to get too ahead of myself. But anyways, again, welcome. How's it been the last 2 weeks since you're guest posing?
Ooh, I've been busy, man. I've been flying and traveling everywhere. It feels like I was just in Grand Rapids this past weekend. I'm here now, and then I got another event coming up next week, I believe. It's been good. Obviously, the guest posing really popped off unexpectedly because I was just there to be there with you and at the booth for Evogen. So it's been good, man. I just, as soon as I got back home, I kept training. Even through my traveling last weekend, I trained pretty hard considering the fact I was traveling. So I'm just enjoying it, man. Like, I'm really, really just loving being in the gym and being on the diet and just following the process. This is definitely the best I've ever felt inside and outside the gym. And yeah, I'm just enjoying life, enjoying bodybuilding, and all is well.
Well, I think a lot of people were asking me, what is Derek going to do? Everyone, that's like the $64,000 question. What is Derek going to do? Open, or is he going to go 212? And if he is, when? And I think we all know that at some point you are. That's something that we've always discussed, started working together last year. At some point you're going to go open. Now, again, things have shifted a bit with the fact that, you did a really amazing appearance in front of everybody, good conditioning, not being blown out, and being able to hang with a lot of these guys. But at the end of the day, how did you feel? I guess my thing is that, I was talking to Austin about it before the show, and I said, I think that the biggest thing is that everybody wants to sit down and say how they felt when they saw you, but how did you feel going into this? Because I want to try to get your perspective on this.
Yeah, I mean, I was training consistently, eating consistently, and doing everything that, you'd had me do weeks prior. But it's like, again, I was supposed to be there for you and Evogen, and just, to enjoy talking to people and getting to know people or catching up with those who I did know at the show. I was excited to see the other guest posers and see how they looked on stage the night before. That's when Jim Manion had asked me, he goes, would you want to step on stage? And I said, I mean, I'm prepared. I have trunks if you want me to, like the shorts. He goes, sure, yeah, why don't you get on stage? And I don't know if he talked to you and asked if I was in shape or not. I don't know how that went down, but I was like, sure, like I'll be prepared. I'll step on stage if you want me to. And in my head, I'm thinking, oh man, like this could go one of two ways. Either people are going to say, wow, like, he's really been putting in the work, or man, like, oh, I don't know.
He looks good for 212.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like 212 and these guys are the open.
Exactly.
Right.
So I was like, well, I'm just here to have a good time, put on a show, and just have fun. And so that was my mentality on stage. But to be honest, between the time the night before when Jim Manion asked me to be on stage and actually getting on stage, I was a little stressed in the hotel room. I was telling Jill, I was like, I hope this goes well. I'm just gonna have fun. And she goes, oh, it's gonna go well. I see you every day. It's gonna go well. I was like, yeah, I'm just gonna have fun.
It went slightly well.
Yeah, I mean, it went well because at the end of the day, you hung really well with these guys. My thing is this. Do you feel, and this is a lot of questions that I get, obviously I think I know the answers to it, but I think I want to walk people through this journey that's Derek Lunsford since winning the Olympia till now, right? It's been about what, 7 months?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, it's been 6-7 months. Now, at the end of the day, I don't think people realize how much you have to kind of control your weight.
Yeah. Yeah. It's constantly dieting and constantly doing cardio, consistently in the gym. I mean, the gym's no problem. I enjoy it, but consistent cardio, consistent dieting, you know, and I like to enjoy some life. I like to enjoy some foods that are out there too. I don't go crazy off the diet.
This is code for you like to eat.
This is code for let's go get barbecue after this.
No, this is code for literally he can eat more than any human I've ever seen. You know, like Hany he doesn't eat like him. Jay, Phil, none of them can eat like Derek. And Derek literally legitimately has to hold back how much he eats. And I have to constantly ride him like a fat kid that wants Twinkies.
I remember,
but it's not like he wants to eat Twinkies, but I'm just saying, even with meals,
I was clean food, right?
Well, even if it's clean food, but I know you like dirty food too, so don't get me wrong, you do. But even with clean food, you could put it away. We were at Persian restaurant, and I had ordered him a kubita combo with chicken. So it's like one skewer kubita, one skewer of chicken. I ordered him appetizer. I ordered a bunch of different little, you know, side dishes with stews, like korma sabzi, this and that, and everything else, tahdig and the whole 9 yards. I get a phone call from Dubai, right? And I walk away. We just got done eating. I come back 10 minutes later, and he's got another plate that the waitress, and it was like a fat kid caught in the middle of the night with a Twinkie. He had a plate of full entree, another one coming after he ate all of that. So I'm sitting here. I told my wife, no, bad. Everybody here is bad. You had Jell there. I think Jell was there, right?
She was there for sure.
Yeah.
Because then the next night we went again. We had to say this. We went the next night, and you're like, this is not happening again. So you ended up ordering me just a single plate of just one kubita, and you ordered Jelson the double, and I was like, did you mean to do? No, that one's hers and that one's yours. I go, she gets to eat more than me? Are you kidding me? She's like, I feel bad. Should I eat this? I'm like, oh, so jealous.
Yeah. And that's how it's been. It's been one of those things. But again, it wasn't like you're reaching for Twinkies. And I have caught people who I've worked with in the past in the middle of the night, a night before a show at the hotel lobby, trying to get snacks.
The night before?
Yes.
I could never do that.
I got some really good stories that I will definitely share with everybody because, So
I can never, like once we truly lock down a prep, like, all right, we're prepping for the Olympia, I could never deviate from a plan. And I've known now, like after like years of competing, to completely avoid sweets at all costs. Even now in the off season, like if I start to eat sweets, I become ravenous. All I want to do is just eat, you know? So I have
cookies, right?
Definitely cookies.
Yeah,
definitely cookies. You know,
I remember.
He's got
recording some videos.
He's got the caveman gene. He literally does. He has the caveman gene where he starts to eat, and it's like, don't go near him. He might bite your hand. You know, it's like, you know, what else? I guess a pit bull. Or
I was gonna say like a dog that's like getting fed. It's like, get away from me.
I recorded some videos of him one time asking him about like, favorite cheat meal, different things like that for social media. And there was just a certain glint, like a little glint in his eye that just sparked up. And it's like, find somebody who looks at you the way that Derek looks at cookies. Pretty much. That's what
it's honestly any food.
Yeah.
He loves to eat. The guy is a machine. He is an eating machine.
It's my guilty pleasure. I have to admit.
So everything we do has to be revolved around that. It's literally a negotiation. It's a negotiation working with Derek with diet.
And all of that comes full circle to pretty much say that like you got to hold back quite a bit.
Yes.
And to keep the weight down.
For better or worse.
Yeah.
I mean, I really think that actually it's good because people go, let him loose. No, because he'll blow out his lines, right? So you have to make sure you can't just say, here you go. Let's just open it up. You can't do that with any one thing. Training, nutrition, PEDs, anything that you discuss, too much of anything is not good. There's a balance to everything.
So would that change things a lot if you were to open the floodgates to open? Like would things change much, or would it just
There would be some changes, absolutely, but it wouldn't be as much as everybody thinks it is. It's not just like, because he would overdo it because he is a machine when it comes to eating.
And I do know like there are times whenever I notice myself where I'm eating more and more and more, like day after day, week after week, and I'm growing. And then I get to a point where I'm like, okay, I want to keep my digestion in check. So then I'll back off the food a little bit. I'll even like lower the meals, lower the food volume, and I'll just like, I won't say I'll fast, but I'll go a little longer, like in the morning without eating, just to give myself a little bit more time for my digestion to get back on track. So like I always try to be conscious of my stomach and my digestion alongside of, that too.
Well, going back to the story, I let him eat the food, but I didn't let him eat it then. I said, you're going to take this food, put it to go in about 2.5 hours when you're hungry. Again, I mean, he's already hungry there because he's a machine, but being able to digest what he has, he doesn't stretch out his stomach. I said, go ahead and eat this in 2.5 to 3 hours. Reset.
Oh, interesting. So it's not necessarily the exact volume of food overall. It's in that one moment or at that exact sitting. Got it.
Correct.
Okay.
Especially because of the off season.
Yeah. Like growing up when your parents say like, oh, if you finish your food, you can have dessert. Well, it's like the opposite of that. Stop eating. What are you talking?
Then you can have your food afterwards.
Then you can have your food later.
That's it. And at the end of the day, it helps keep his midsection in check. But if he was able to eat an unlimited amount of food, he would probably put in like 3 entrees, no problem.
Easy.
Yeah. I know that there were stories with Kai Green where he could sit down and have $100 breakfast, right?
It really is ridiculous how much I really could put down if I wanted to. I mean, there's been some times when I would go to sushi and 100 pieces later, and yeah.
Not since we've been working together.
No, not since we've been. That was a couple of years ago. I was
as
going
long as you have Evolog, you're good.
Yeah.
Actually, that does help a lot.
It does.
Truthfully, this is since working with Hany, that was the first time I ever used a product like that. And right now we've been doing it 4 times a day. Like I'll do 2 in the morning, like first couple meals, and then 2 later in the evening after I train and stuff. And I've noticed that's helped a lot actually.
Big difference.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, at the end of the day, what really matters is the fact that if you even drink water and you stack it with foods that can really expand your gut, it's going to stretch. So you need to stay on top of that. And a lot of people don't realize that. They think it's just, oh, it's insulin or it's this or it's that or whatever they want to attribute it to. It's not that. There's a lot of people who don't take insulin, and everyone who's watched the Jay Cutler podcast that he's done with a lot of different, they know that I don't believe in that. I feel that it's got a lot of negative side effects besides the fact that you could die. It has a lot of
pretty serious side effects.
Yeah. Last time I checked, you definitely want to keep, your body and your heart.
I still remember like one of our first conversations, we talked about that. You're like, you're never going to use that. I go, good. Never have.
Yeah.
Never want to.
So. Yeah. And one of those things is that everybody automatically says, this is the automatic cycle. You got to do this is the, at the end of the day, if you don't do this, you're not going to win in Mr. Olympia. You'd be very surprised at how many winners have never taken
it. Well, it's just because people extrapolate. Nobody actually knows, so everybody just throws out, it's this. Well, you mean nobody outside of...
I do.
Yes. That's a little bit, nobody knows. So they just throw it out there like they must be taking this, and this, and this, and that's the cause for this. Like, you got no idea.
Yeah, no, you don't have any idea. You think you do because someone's giving you misinformation because they have an agenda, or they're using you as a lab rat, and that's what's happening. But the same thing goes with the food. So going back to the whole food situation, if you sit down and you're hitting 100, 200, whatever grams of carbs in one meal, and you're just pounding water and you're going to end up just distended as hell, you're stretching out your gut. Don't do it. And that's one of those things that we have to turn around and make sure that Derek, because he has the inclination to eat. Again, Hady's like the opposite. It's like, please eat, please eat some pasta, eat some more potato. Oh no, I want rice. I'm like, okay, rice is only going to fill you up to a certain degree. So if you need more substance and you need denser carbs, you're going to have to use those things. And then if you have to worry about a little bit of a gluten issue, then you can do a gluten-free pasta. Or what I like to do is like whether it's cream of rice or something that's a bit, or grits or any of those other kinds of foods. But one of the things that I really wanted to be able to show people and explain to people, even right now, is that if you sit there and you take in a bulk amount of your food and not eat because you're so jammed up with so much food, it's no different than having a bunch of pizza and then you can't eat for 8 hours because it's a bunch of grease in you. You're not going to be able to digest that. So what you need to do is eat clean and eat often. Eat clean and eat often. That's what it's about. It's consistently getting those calories in, stacked with protein, all your macros, and you got to be able to get your protein, your carbs, and your fats. So you can't turn around and say, hey, I'm just going to do a lot more carbs, or I'm going to do a lot more protein, but I'm not going to turn around and take in the good fats, the fish, the vegetable oils, i.e. avocado, extra virgin olive oil that we use in my program. All those things are super important. And those are ways of being able to get even more calories in without distension of the carbohydrates. because your body's only going to process so many carbs, especially if you're trying to use a higher amount of calorie base and you don't want to bloat. You got to be able to lean on the carbs. I'm sorry, you got to lean on the fats.
Yeah.
So you can't just lean on the carbs and just say, hey, I'm going to have this unlimited amount of carbs. And I think that anybody who's carved up or done a show will realize that it's really a balancing act, because if you are doing a ton of carbs and doing high protein and you don't have your fats, but then you start to introduce them, you'll see how your body will change during your carb up. And everyone here at this table has competed at some point, right?
Yeah.
So try to do a carb up with no fats.
I noticed that big time this past year, you know, you and I working together for the Olympia, but yeah, I noticed like there'd be times in the past where I would really cram in a lot of food, especially late at night, even if it was clean food. And I would notice that my sleep wasn't the highest quality. Then the next day training, my training wasn't highest quality. So when you're eating clean like that, you're not implementing, you know, a bunch of junk food, and you're eating consistently around the clock, then your sleep improves, and then your mood improves, and then your training improves. Everything improves whenever you got, you know, everything consistent around the clock. But when you're trying to go, it's off season, I'm going to go have pizza. So I guarantee you the next day, you're not going to train nearly as well. Your sleep probably sucks that night too.
Yeah. You're going to feel like shit.
And your mood just like, you know? So now for me, like after several years of competing, I just want to feel good, because I want to get back to training. I want to sleep well. I want to have a good mood and stuff. So it's like, I'd rather feel good than to, you know, fall into those cravings and just.
Well, you're only feeling good for a short period of time when you're eating it.
It's so temporary.
You're screwed. Yeah. And I think a lot of people don't realize how much serotonin is produced in your gut.
Yeah.
Like, well, I also obviously am a huge believer in that, because that's why I made a probiotic.
Yeah.
But when you really go down to brass tacks, you can't sit there and feel that you're going to eat something and feel good for 30 minutes to an hour and then feel horrible for the next 8 or 12, because now your sleeping is completely messed up. Everybody in bodybuilding has some degree of sleep apnea, because when you start to, especially I'm talking about big open guys, when you turn around and you're a big guy, you're going to have a thicker muscular neck, big traps, that all of that stuff is going to give you more likelihood of having some type of sleep apnea situation. And then the bigger you are, especially in the off season, the heavier you are, the more your gut tends to expand. You're going to have problems sleeping. And for those that are listening to this, that are bigger guys, you're going to know exactly what I'm talking about. You're going to feel like shit. I don't even care if you eat a ton of clean food before you go to bed.
Yep.
You're not going to get good, comfortable sleep, and you're not going to be able to recover if you don't get sleep. So all of these things have to be aligned. So you have to take note. You can't just sit there and say, I'm going to eat a lot, or I'm going to do this a lot, or I'm going to take a ton of supplements, and I'm not going to turn around and be able to balance out all the different pillars, because you have your nutrition, you have your supplements, you have your training. And then, obviously if you are a guy that's going to be taking PEDs, you have to also balance that out. But even then, those are discussions that when I have with people and they want to create this gigantic laundry list of drugs that they want to talk about and do and say, hey, what do you think about this? And I look at it and I just like, I'm baffled. I'm like, you just need enough to help you recover. You don't need to sit there and overdo it, because what you're going to do is your body is going to get maxed out sooner, and you're going to end up shutting down your system, and you're going to end up having a ton more side effects. So you're going to be able to say, hey, like I gained a ton of weight, but then your body's going to be fried. How many guys have you guys all seen, if you followed bodybuilding for a given period of time, that some of these people just blow up overnight? They look good for a year or two, and then all of a sudden they have to go away because their bodies just get absolutely fried.
Yeah.
You can also just tell, and sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. You can also just tell on how people look and talk in person, you know, like just their whole like energy of health or not. Like if people blow up too fast, there's just like a different like,
they can't even breathe. They sound like Darth Vader.
Yeah. And going off of that, you know how many guys I hear like, oh, I just can't eat enough food. I'm not hungry. And I'm like, okay, so how's your training? Oh, it's good. It's good. I'm like, okay, so how much cardio are you doing a week? Oh, I don't do cardio because I can't get enough calories in already. Well, maybe you should be eating the right types of food. Maybe you should be doing a little bit of cardio. Maybe that will help your training improve. And then when your training improves, you're able to get more out of the gym. And then that food that you're eating truly supports your training, rather than just trying to cram in a bunch of food. No, I think you should stay consistent. I don't think it has to be as strict as a prep, but I think you still need to go based off of the foods that you're eating during prep, and you need to consider the fact that your training and your rest and recovery are still just as important as the calories that you're getting in. You're cramming in food and you're full and you're sick and you're throwing up and stuff. I think there's that's a hint that maybe something's
Your body's
changed.
telling you something.
Yeah, clearly.
Well, speaking of digestion, I want to talk about Flex Lewis.
Okay.
Because he did have some problems with digestion, but he had it, I think, off and on for a good part of his career, if not his whole career. But I know that he had to deal with a lot of different things, but I know that you wanted to turn around and compete against him. You wanted to be able to stand on stage. And now that he's retired, how do you feel about that? Because I know that you've mentioned.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah. I mean, I actually messaged him right away when I heard the announcement of his retirement. I said, I'm happy for him and his family and all the blessings God has given him through his hard work. But I was really hoping to be able to step on stage with him at least one more time, especially in the Open. And I said, but to be honest, I got to stand next to you twice in the 212, and that's more than most people can say. So it's a privilege to be able to do that, to say that. But I really, really, really wanted to step on stage with him here in the Open, especially now working with you and a couple years down the road, both of us improving. I mean, the best physique I think he ever presented was the 2018 Olympia. And I think he smacked it out of the park and he looked great. And I would have loved to seen him in the Open with me in the Open. And I think that would have been not just great for the both of us, but I think it would have been awesome for the fans of bodybuilding too. So it's disappointing that I don't get that opportunity, but at the same time, I'm like super happy for him and his family. Like he just had a newborn.
Yes.
And like, so, I mean, it's his choice. I mean, he, like I said, God's truly blessed him and his family, and I'm very happy for him. But, selfishly, I would have loved to,
I think all of us as a fans are selfish to say we would love to see him continue, because I was hoping that we would get one more last hurrah and say, hey, let's get Flex out there. But all in all, the reason why I'm bringing it up, because you're one-time Olympia 212 champion, he's 7-time Olympia champion, and I know how hard it is for you to want to continue to go, hey, look, I really would love to see just myself stretch my legs. This guy did it for 7 years, kept sucking down. The mental mind F this whole thing was for him to be able to have to continuously say, I'm going to have to burn off some muscle, because I guarantee you he burned off muscle to make weight.
Yeah.
Guaranteed. And to do that over and over and over again, he's won 7 in 212. Phil has won 7 in Open. And to think that what we would have had to go through to try to go and make weight for Phil or some situation is just, it's really mental, because your body, it's called bodybuilding.
Exactly. I was about to say that. And that's literally when people ask me like about the 212 and Open myself. I'm like, look, I want to be the best bodybuilder I can be. I want to continue to grow and shape and mold my physique. And I want to have no limitations to that. That has been my overall mindset from the very first moment I started bodybuilding. So I can imagine, 7 times sucking down to the 212, he's probably thinking, I just want to let loose and be 225 on stage and just present this to the world.
Exactly. Because you don't see the mental aspect of how hard it is. It's so much more like wrestling now, when you have to suck in and try to make weight. And if you're 184 and you're trying to wrestle 154s, and you're sitting here going, okay, I'm 182. I got to lose 30 pounds. Some of it's fat, sure. Some of it's water, but a lot of it's also muscle mass that you got to turn around and say to yourself, this is inherently against the whole nature of bodybuilding, to try to sit and schedule yourself to be able to be at that weight on that given day. And you know that you're not your best. You're just trying to look your best against the people you're standing next to. So again, kudos to him, because I think that people need to identify how hard it is to make weight year after year, but let alone 7 years in a row.
Yeah, that's
having
amazing.
to do that.
7 years. That's pretty amazing. And like you said, like coming off the Olympia title, or coming off the Olympia last year, having that 212 title, you're like, whoa, man, I just earned that title. I have that title now. Do you really want to give that up? And I'm sure that's what was going through his head every single year, and was like, yes, it would be so much better to just present this 225-pound bodybuilder on stage, my physique at that weight. But I'm going to come back down and be the champion again. That's probably what he was thinking every single year. I mean, it had to be, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And that's, like I said, it's a tough decision for you right now with 1 year under your belt practically. And then for someone like him who continuously had to make the decision, it's such a tough decision because as everyone's saying, we want to see you. We want to see you. We want to see you continue to keep going. It's hard because you have to physically, you're the one that has to actually suck down and make weight, not them.
Yeah. And it's not easy. It is. I can't say it's very much fun at all.
I think another thing that set it ablaze also, coming from somebody like just fan of the sport of watching all of this, is one of the things.
What division did you compete in?
Classic.
Classic. That's right.
Yeah.
That's
But
right.
I had a lot more weight to pack on after that. Yeah.
But you weren't at your limit, right?
No. I was probably like 14 pounds under.
Okay.
Yeah. So I had a lot of room to grow. But the last time I competed, I was 21. So I didn't expect to come in.
Well, that was like 6 months ago, right?
It was, yeah. 6.5. But I think as a fan of the sport, just watching it all, it was, everybody always was like, oh, I'd love to see Derek go open, love to see Derek go open. But it was especially when you got on stage next to the open guys, where everybody's like, oh, shoot. I don't think everybody was expecting, we talked about this in the other podcast as well, just they weren't expecting that to see the first time all of a sudden that comparison there of everybody. Then everybody's like, we really, really want to see this actually happen.
I'll be honest with you. I don't know how much that would have occurred, what the likelihood of that occurring is if Ramy was there, because with that Ramy situation being gone and not being able to come in for whatever reason, I still think that there's speculation there, but no one's really
Still don't know.
And I don't think he's still been on social media at all since, before the Pittsburg. It would have been a different story because either Jim would have said, okay, yeah, still, I want you up there. Why don't you go ahead and it'd be great to have you up there with the open guys. Or he would have said, no, we already have our guys because the other guys were on the poster. That's it. So personally, I would have loved to see you stand next to him. I would love to see you stand next to him because he's such a monster. He's such a big guy. He's taller, he's bigger. But again, that's not always better. But it would have been great to be able to just do that. But
it's all the lines, though. That's why it ties back into the digestion thing. It's just whenever you have that tight, really small midsection, it just makes everything else like quads and lats, everything looks so much larger. So I think that plays just such a massive part of it is, it's not necessarily just overall weight. Obviously, we all know that. But like with that on stage, with the vacuum and different, it's like, oh, shoot. It just makes everything look just that much freakier.
I thought it would have been awesome to stand next to Ramy too.
Yeah.
And actually, since Chris Bumstead was there, I almost said something to the crowd, like, where's Chris at? Yeah. But I didn't.
We talked about that too.
Yeah, we would have loved to see Chris.
That would have been awesome.
Yeah. And Chris is always in good shape. I don't know why he doesn't guest pose. He should guest pose.
And he's heavy. Well, he's tall.
Putting that tan on and shaving and all that. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe you asked me. So he asks me. He goes, oh, do I need to do anything? I said, shave your face. I was like, I'm like, you look like Al Qaeda. Come on, man. I mean, like, I was like, what's going on?
I was like, seriously? I told you, I was like, man, I really don't want to shave my face. I feel like I lose like 5 years when I shave my face.
Yeah, and then you got the gray streak. Everyone's like,
I know,
what's going on with that gray streak?
It's my highlights.
your natural highlights. When did you start graying? When did you start graying?
I think it was my early 20s, like 23, 24, but so was my dad, so was my grandpa, like everybody in my family, like from generation to generation, like even my uncles, like they started going gray like early to mid 20s. So that's when I started noticing it. So.
I would have took gray over bald.
Well, you got some gray.
Fair point.
Yeah, I got gray. Yeah. I got both.
I'm already starting to get them. So it started a few months ago.
Yeah.
I'm just joking.
Hey, that's when you started seeing your new girl.
Oh, shots fired.
Ooh.
Oh man.
That's another podcast.
That's it. Oh, we'll talk about that too. We'll talk about that too, because how important it is to have a really good girl in your is your backbone.
Oh, absolutely.
So, partner, whatever it is, we say girl, but women who are listening to this, a good male or however what your personal preference is, it's up to you. But at the end of the day, to have that support system is really important. At the end, if you turn around and you see anybody that has been someone who is super successful, they don't have a lot of chaos in their personal life when it comes to that. They have somebody who is a pillar of strength that they can bounce off ideas to. And I'm not saying somebody who's a cheerleader. That's actually not a good thing.
Yep.
You need somebody to balance you out so that when you have super highs, they bring you back down. And then on the flip side of that, if you have super lows, they bring you back up because they need to help ground you. They don't need to sit there and say, oh, you got robbed, you got this, you got that, whatever. That's not what you need to hear. Now, if they think that you have been, hey, look, you could have done better. I think that this could have happened or something. That's fine. But if you have somebody in your corner who's going to help balance you out, that's going to take you much, much further than just be a cheerleader. So if you guys are looking for life partners out there, take it from someone who's been through a lot of different athletes, who've worked with a lot of athletes. And the ones who have done very, very well have been able to, both on and off the stage, have been with people that have their back and have been able to balance them out. So again, it's not about just being your cheerleader and just rooting for you when things are going well, but also to be able to pick you up when things aren't.
Absolutely. And my wife is the biggest blessing in my life. 100%. We've been together for 11 years now. Finally got married this past March. And we did 3 years long distance while I was living in Tampa from 2018 to 2021. She graduated, or 2020? 2021. 2020. Yeah, she graduated.
So you've been together how long?
11 years, and we did 3 years long distance while I was in Tampa, and she was going to grad school to be a doctor of physical therapy.
So this is called the Truth Podcast for a reason. I'm going to put you on the hot seat.
Oh boy. Okay. Jelson, I hope you're not watching.
You got guys like you who are now married, who've been together for a long time. You've been doing the long distance thing. In this sport where there's a lot of people that are sliding into DMs and this and that. And there's guys out there. Andre's a single guy, depending on which week it is. Right? Depending on what
day of the week.
And I see someone like him, and I'm going to use him as an example because he's one of my athletes. And I sit there and go, you got 5.2 million followers. And he's in his mid-20s. Yeah. And good looking guy, right? Yeah. Model, physique athlete, sponsored by several companies. So he's doing very well. And at the end of the day, 1 week right now he's in Bali. Right?
This guy.
He's balling in Bali. He's balling in Bali. Before that, he was in Dubai. Yeah. Before that, he was in the UK. He comes here from time to time. Andre, you need to come back a little bit. You need to get back. We got to get ready for these shows. Get your butt over here. But at the end of the day, I think it creates a lot of distraction, and it can. So it's hard. I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm just saying it's hard when you don't have someone regular in your life. It's very, very difficult.
I personally couldn't imagine it. I mean, like I said, we've been there together for 11 years.
That's what I was going to ask you. Could you see yourself single right now and trying to be where you are?
I don't try to think about it at all. But if I were to think about it, I would be a different person. 1,000%. Yeah.
Probably not as successful.
Definitely not.
Yeah.
Definitely not. I'm definitely way more focused on the right things. Not even just focused on bodybuilding, but thinking about like my life and the future I have with her and my future family and the people that are around me now, like my true friends and family and the people that I work with. Like it just helps me like stay focused on the right things. Mm-hmm. I think it'd be very hard for someone that's, getting hit up right and left and going down that path.
It's very tempting.
It depends on who you are, right?
Yeah, but I'm saying, especially a guy that's 25 and single, it's really hard. That's why I said the other person that it comes to mind is Nick Walker. Last time I checked, he doesn't have a regular, like he's not married. I don't know if he's got a regular girlfriend or friends. Yeah. I know he's gotten very creative with what he likes. And on that side of the that side of the sheets, because you train with him, and whatnot, and it's just one of those things where I'm just thinking to myself, I wonder what happens with that mentality, because when Jay was going all those years and he had Carrie and all, just people, and I'm not saying it's impossible to do it, but I'm just saying is that it is something where I feel that it is a part of the formula.
I believe so. Yeah. At least it is for me.
Right.
I know that. And I talked to Nick. I consider Nick a friend. And we've actually
even after that guest posing.
Yeah, no, we're cool. He's cool, man. He's cool. No, man. I actually talked to him a little bit about his personal life in terms of relationships and stuff. And he's asked me, how I did long distance and how I was able to handle my relationship with Jel and this and that. You know, and I actually, it's crazy we're even talking about this. I actually told him the exact same thing. I said, man, like, I think you already know this, but I think obviously, first of all, you need to be focused on you. And what I mean by that is not like going out and do all this fun stuff. I'm saying focused on training in the Olympia, which he is obviously. But I said, like, I think if he had a solid girl like by his side, I think that he would be even better. I actually said that to him. And
well, I don't know how much better he can be, because like I said, he's doing really well. He's doing really well. But there are times where you can get distracted, but he's still, I put him in one of those things where he's the exception. I think there's other people, he doesn't come to mind in terms of somebody that's going off and screwing off.
Well, I guess when I said better, I didn't mean like a better bodybuilder. I just meant like more or less like it would just help him stay more focused on the right things. Like I was
more complete lifestyle.
Yeah.
Got it.
I think that's the most interesting thing is so many people have not experienced a relationship where the person is removing things from your plate and supporting you instead of adding more additional chaos or stress to your life. And so people are just like, well, no, I can't handle a relationship right now. I'm like, you definitely can when it's the right situation where the person is going to actually make your path and your goals easier. Like they make your whole entire mission so much easier because of the support and everything that's being added into it, instead of, because a lot of people have just experienced, you know, they're on a goal, they're on a track, a relationship enters, they veer off because all of a sudden their attention has to go to this or whatever. I'm the youngest one at the table here, I think, but like in my relationship where I just have a lot of support on everything that I'm doing, I can tackle more now. Like I can be more focused on everything I'm going to do because that's a peaceful place outside of it.
That's how I feel.
Yeah, you need that. Otherwise, you know, but so many people have only experienced chaos. And so, you know,
it's a lot of negative energy that can occur. And I think that I'm, as you know, very big on energy and making sure that how effective you are has a lot to do with who you have around you to help support you.
1000%.
And if you don't have the right team, everyone thinks bodybuilding is this like single sport, you know, I'm going to go out there like a wrestler and it's just me. It's not. It's the furthest thing from the truth.
Yeah, completely. I mean, you have your coach, you have your significant other, you have your friends, you have your family, all of that. And yeah, from the very beginning, that's what I said. Like I'll never say like this is, you know, I'm just the guy. I'm just the guy on the stage. This is a whole team, a whole village that has helped me get to this point. You know, like I'll never be the guy that says like I'm a one-man show or I did it all alone. I had no help. It was all me. That's just not the case at all. I think if that's, you know, your mentality or that's what you're preaching, I think that all those people that are helping you is just you're not giving any credit to people that truly have had your back. And so that's why like I always try to give credit where it's due to you, to the whole Evasion team, to my wife, to my friends, to my family, to everybody that's supported me, you know, even especially the fans, like, you know, so much support and love. I'm traveling, I'm meeting people or catching up with people I've met in the past. It's like I said, I was up in Grand Rapids this past weekend and it's just like a massive amount of love that was just given to me. Every year I'm up there. It's just awesome. It's motivating to me and it helps me just keep pushing forward. And it's like, okay, I'm on the right track. If I'm, you know, able to motivate and inspire this many people and we have good conversations, it's like, I must be doing something right. So let's just keep going down this path. And like, that's what they do for me. So it's a whole team. It's not just one person. It's not just coach athlete. It's not just athlete. It's not just wife athlete. It's everyone. It's the whole village.
It's also how you treat those people around you as well. Like, you know, and I actually, quick storyline. I met you years ago. I think I briefly told you this, but I met you in the gym and you took time to give me a bunch of tips on leg training. And I was doing a leg day that time. And you like ran me through a bunch of everything like that. You gave me your phone number at the time, everything like this, years before we met here.
Did I? I don't remember that.
Yeah.
No,
yeah. and so looking back on that, I'm like, when you do that for fans at the time, and when you do that for fans or other people around you, take the time to focus and to actually do that. Everybody wants to support you so much more. And it's so important on how you just take care of and treat the people around you that, you know, even some kid at the time that, you know, you hadn't met yet. So it's cool.
Well, the thing is, man, is I was just some kid that wanted to learn and grow and be the best I could be. So I was out there trying to do the same as you were. Like if I was around somebody I thought knew more than me or had a different spin on something I was, you know, doing, I wanted to learn. I'll try it out for myself. Does it work or does it not work? If it does, you know, I'll add that tool to the toolbox. If not, then okay, at least I tried and I know not to do that anymore.
Exactly.
So I think it's good. I think we are starting to see true camaraderie coming back to bodybuilding.
I do see that. I see that. I like the collabs that are going on. I see you training with Nick.
It's fun.
See Hunter and all the guys that are training with each other, whether they're a part of each other's team with some, with clothing. I know you guys are part of GASP and some of the things that you guys are doing. But at the end of the day, I think that it's really cool to be able to say, okay, I want to go over there and do that. And if you want to talk crap, go ahead and talk crap. I mean, look at Nick and Blessing, right?
Yeah.
I want to talk a little bit about Blessing because he had a really good run the last 2 shows.
Yeah.
He looks great. And I think that he's got the formula now with George. I think that, he's been able to really nail it. And I think that with him and Nick, it's very entertaining. Seeing that.
Yeah. How'd you feel about that?
I like it because it's kind of a rerun of what happened last time, except for now all of a sudden Blessing's like, look, I got my stuff straight and I look way better. Let me go back and forth with you now. So let's see what that happens, because they were talking so much crap to one another in last year. And now all of a sudden, Blessing's winning. And now you have Nick that's like, okay, cool. Yeah. Let's go ahead and let's get it on again. And so I think it creates a little bit of that anticipation. And now it's like, you got Blessing who looks better. You
can take him?
Do I think Nick can,
no, I was saying, you think Blessing could take Nick?
No.
Yeah.
No, I don't think he can take him. Not yet.
Yeah.
Not yet. I think that Nick is just too complete right now. I think Nick is too complete. I think, and Nick knows it. That's why he's got that little bit of that attitude and whatnot. And I think that, but Blessing is way better. And I think it's definitely going to be closer than it was last year. But I do think that Nick is becoming even better and he's improving. And I think Blessing has improved. But again, I think that if you ask Blessing, he would have liked the way he looks like this year, last year. That's what he was going for. And then he would have been improved on that this year, because like I said, this is bodybuilding. He would have been just better and better and try to be able to focus on his legs, thickening up his hamstrings, his quads, his sweep, all of those areas.
But also it played out perfectly because last year he didn't come in on point, right? He slipped back a little bit. But this year, and I should say Nick was in the show, right? And won the show last year. So this year, Nick was not in the show. Blessing had improved tremendously and won the show. So I think that creates more excitement for the fact that they weren't on stage together either. So I think it was cool that they did the back and forth there, but I just be, a little cautious for others that want to try that. I think it has to be the right people.
Absolutely. I think the history of them too was what really now creates anticipation for the Olympia.
Yeah.
I don't know if Blessing's doing any more shows. I'm assuming not, but let's just say he is. But if he's going to be going head to head with Nick, everyone's going to put their eyes on the Olympia now and be like, oh, yeah, let's see how that.
It was also Nick and Hunter too, right? I believe there was
a little bit.
Some last year.
There was a little bit,
but a lot less.
Yeah,
because Blessing is really good at talking crap.
Yeah,
he's really good at talking just shit. I'm going to tell you this right now. He's really good at it. Besides that, and throwing protein and creatine up in the air and doing all of those things, he's really bad at showering because he can't get the soap off. So if any of you,
I remember that video. I was so confused for a second. I was like,
absolutely, and he's a great guy. I met him years ago in Dubai, and he's super nice guy. Super nice guy.
Yeah, I saw him at the Arnold too. He came up behind me and put me in a choke. I'm like, who's behind? Oh, what's up, man? No, so he's a cool, down to earth guy, but he is serious about competing, man. Obviously.
Oh, he is.
Yeah,
he is, and he's very serious about beating Nick and trying to beat everybody. I mean, obviously everyone's trying to beat everybody, but at the end of the day, that rivalry just got reignited, and that just got serious.
Yeah.
Like I like to say, shit just got real. Okay, shit just got real.
I think bodybuilding does need some of that. But like I said, like it has to be the right people, right circumstances. It can't just be everybody coming up and just stirring drama. I think this is a really good rivalry.
Yeah. And I think I'm looking forward to some more coming in.
Yeah.
Some different segues coming in, obviously. I think that one of the things that you have to look at is, since bodybuilding has lost Phil, I think things have changed a lot. And I'm not just saying that because I work with Phil, but I think the Phil and Kai thing was a big deal. It was like a Ronnie and Jay thing. So when that whole situation kind of changed, and at some point we got to sit down and talk to Phil, because I think that Phil has his own way of and perspective on bodybuilding. But what really needs to be looked at now is the fact that these rivalries don't really exist. And
not to that caliber.
No. And I think that that's the thing. God rest his soul, Sean, when he won, that was short-lived because of what ended up happening with his legal situation.
Yeah.
And you turn around and then the following year you have Brandon Curry win. Then all of a sudden we have Big Ram you win the last 2 years. So it's one of those things you don't see, Brandon's not a guy that's going to sit there and talk crap. He's not a kind of guy that likes to mix things up. Like at that level, he's a more just professional. Let me go in there and get my job done. Let me take care of my family. Let me go out there. I'm going to try to beat your butt on stage. That's the kind of personality that Brandon has. Mm-hmm. But when you create these crazy rivalries where it literally starts to pull in coaches, I remember there was times where they would try to pull me into it.
Yeah.
And I'm a person who likes to just sit back and let the guys do their thing on stage. But there are times where I have to stand up and say things. I will. When it came to Kai versus Phil, it was one of those things where literally people were there was blows. Mm-hmm. Everyone thought that this was made up. It was not made up. They were coming to the point where a few seconds, you can see Phil. I could just think that,
I know what you're talking. I remember it, man, because this is when I first started bodybuilding, man. Back with the first Generation Iron movie, and when they were having their most heated rivalry, that was when I came into the sport. So I mean, it got me fired up and inspired to be here. So trust me, I know this all too well. When he flipped his hair around and
hit him, and they hit elbows on the poses on front double bicep and everything else. They're literally hitting elbows. And what happens is you sit down and you look at that rivalry, you kind of go, wow. What's going to happen next? You start to go with Team Coleman or you go with Team Cutler. You go with Team Heath or you go with Team Kai. You go with one guy versus another. Mm-hmm. And there's only a handful of those that got so heated where I remember in 2001 with Jay versus Ronnie, people were chanting, Jay, Ronnie. I mean, people were going nuts and it was cool. It was really cool because depending on who you ask, at the end of the night, they'll say, oh, this should have been the winner. It should have been Jay, or it should have been Ronnie because Ronnie was so dominant and he peaked at night or whatever. Mm-hmm. But when you sit down and you start looking at these now coming on, some of these things, it's going to be interesting to see how much that storyline develops. But I do like it because it's not WWE, but it is one of those things that creates some of that energy. So hopefully
feel real.
It does.
To feel. And I think that to me, looking at it, doesn't feel like some of that's there because say for in Open, for instance, it doesn't feel like there's as much of that because every show's been so different. Like people are shifting around a lot. It's not like there's a definitive like, oh, everybody's going in expecting this guy to take it to an extent. Like there's been shows where people have walked out and it's been super unexpected. Somebody's fallen back multiple placings or jumped up multiple placings. So I think that that's part of it, at least from my eyes, is it just feels very up in the air often. And there's like not as many like this person going directly after this, but I feel like some of the younger guys are doing a really good job of that on social, of kind of putting those nudges out there and kind of getting that started a bit.
Did you have any of that in 212?
Did I have any of that? Yeah, me and Flex had a legit rivalry.
Did you really?
Yeah. Yeah, it was pretty. It was pretty.
This is what happens when I don't have anybody in the class.
Yeah,
attention.
Yeah, me and Flex definitely had a rivalry. 2017, I was just excited to go from amateur to the Olympia. Like I won Mr. USA, I won Tampa Pro, and I went to the Olympia, and I'm getting first call out. I'm like, holy crap, man! Like this is a dream come true. Every weekend was a dream come true, to be honest. Because my whole thought was just win Mr. USA, win my pro card. So standing next to Flex, Jose, David Henry, Ahmad Ashkenani, all those guys, it was an honor, as a privilege. Of course, I was coming to challenge them, but I didn't really have any expectations. Coming off the 2017 Olympia, I was definitely coming for that title. And Flex Lewis being a 6-time Olympia champion at the time, he knew I was coming. And I ended up placing second, and all that back and forth was legit. In 2018, now when he retired. And
but was he back and forth, or were you just the one that was talking crap?
It was back and forth.
Oh, he was coming back at you?
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
I remember a bit of that because there was a lot of talk out there.
Where was I?
Yeah.
What year was this?
2018.
2018.
Yeah.
Man, I was like 7 and I was up on date on this. What's going on?
Yeah. So anyway, to make a long story short, 2018 was 100% legit. And I think it was super exciting for the fans and for bodybuilding. Then he retired. And after that, we have a different relationship now. So, he's not competing anyways.
Yeah. Well, at the end of the day, I do like seeing it, but I want to ask you guys that are watching this, or if you're listening to this on the podcast, go to the YouTube page, put the comments below. Let us know if you think that these rivalries are any good, or who are the ones that you would like to see stacked up next to each other. I don't care who it is. It could be Derek. It could be with somebody else. It could be with Blessing with somebody else. I would like to hear what you guys have to think about this, because I do think I like it. I really like it, especially when they're in the same bucket. Like they can handle, it's close. If you have a Nick versus, let's say, Hunter, right? Because there was
4 or 5.
There was 4 or 5, and some people thought that should have been switched. They should have been flip flopped. Mm-hmm. Some people said that right. You have these people that are going in. Ian, let's talk about Ian, because Ian was right outside of the cusp of those guys, right? Mm-hmm. So if you look at somebody like Ian, and you go, how does he match up against Blessing? Ian's got bigger legs, but Blessing's got a crazy round upper body. How does that work out? Like some of these guys now, because now it's really kind of making me think.
It's because they have different strengths.
Yeah.
They're both good bodybuilders, great bodybuilders, and they have different strengths, but one of them has shape and symmetry and crazy proportions. The other one has just gnarly, shredded, hard muscle. And it's like, they both look awesome. And which one do you choose? It's splitting hairs, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. You guys all have your strengths and weaknesses.
Yeah.
No one's perfect. Everyone's chasing. Even Phil at his best, or even Ronnie at his best, Dorian at his best, everyone still could make their physique even better. So at the end of the day, make sure you like, make sure you subscribe. This is a great segue. And make sure you comment, because we want to be able to interact. We're going to all jump on there and we're going to be answering questions, and we're going to also be able to create more food for thought, so that if you like this, I created more of a roundtable session with the situation we have here, where we try to bring Derek in, instead of it just being an interview style, is talking about modern day events and some of the other things that we're talking about today. And I think the other thing is just, we went a little bit down the psychology of bodybuilding. Do you think that bodybuilding is addictive?
Yeah, it is for me. From the very first time, I'll never forget the very first time I walked into a gym. I actually went from wrestling practice. I was wrestling 112 pounds, and I went from wrestling practice to the gym. And an older guy that was helping me wrestle at the time said, man, you got to get bigger. You got to put some meat on those bones. Come with me, come to the gym. I said, okay. And so we went there, and I thought I was training for wrestling, but we were doing a bodybuilding workout. And I just remember the pump that I got in my arms, and it was just like, oh man, I love this. Like, I love being in the gym and I feel accomplished. And so that just like that, alongside of my competitive spirit, they just compounded on each other. And just like every time I would, finish a hard workout, I just felt so much more confidence and so much, accomplishment from that. And I could see my physique growing and getting better. I was getting stronger. I was a better athlete or better wrestler at the time. And I just got hooked. I remember like training for wrestling and going to college. And I remember like the days that we would have like rest days, I would be in the gym training. And I just realized at that time, I'm like, I think I like being in the gym and working out even more than I like wrestling. But I wasn't sure. I liked them both. I loved them both.
But do you think it was because also that it was a really good,
like an outlet?
An outlet for stress and anxiety?
I always wanted to feel like I was going somewhere.
Okay. So let's go down that. Let's unpack that. What I realized working with you was that you enjoy training.
Yes.
Almost to the point where I have to tell you to back off and just kind of refocus, so you don't just keep going down the same rabbit hole of more and more and more, or heavier, but really go slower and really create a better eccentric, concentric, slow down, create better time under tension, mind muscle connection, especially in your legs. I wanted to really work on those upper thighs and be able to get that outer sweep. And because you're so wide, I really wanted to make sure that they balance out.
Right.
There's no point in having there's a difference between V and X. And like the letter X, it's balanced between the top and the bottom. What I realized from you is that you have a little bit of obsessive compulsive disorder. I think everybody in this sport does, in bodybuilding in general, but you have it to the point where you really had to back you off on certain things to try to really steer you in the right direction when it came to the training. Like train smarter, not harder. It was a lot of it. But do you feel that maybe part of that was because of your anxiety? Because you had anxiety going into this? Because I do want to just touch on that a little bit.
So before we say anxiety, I never believed I had anxiety or thought anything about anxiety. I just thought to myself, I want to feel accomplished. I want to feel like I'm going somewhere. I'm putting my best foot forward every single day. And that was based off a completely another conversation, being my upbringing. You know, when you're being told certain things, like, you know, growing up, I don't want to say who, but important people in my life, you know, you're worthless. You'll never make anything of yourself.
You had family members.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I thought, okay. And that's when that whole Muhammad Ali, you know, quote, "I'll show you how great I am," mentality came about. So it drove my competitive spirit because I love sports. And so through sports, I trained hard and the coach would say, "Oh, the hardest worker will get the most playing time." That's not necessarily the truth, but that's what drove me to work harder. So I always felt like, okay, I'm going to put my best foot forward. I'm going to give everything I possibly can. And I know in bodybuilding, it's not just about working hard. It's about doing all the right things on a consistent basis. But there is a hard working aspect to it. And I never want to question whether or not I'm working hard enough. And so that's why I would get so OCD about, am I doing the right thing? Am I going heavy enough? Am I doing the right reps? Am I picking the right exercises? So I became so obsessed with making sure I did everything perfect that I maximized my results on a daily basis, to the point where I'm sure it drove you nuts. You know, it drove me nuts thinking that maybe I'm not, like, is there a part that I'm missing here? And I don't ever want to question whether I'm doing the right thing or not. So that's why you saw it as anxiety. And looking back, yeah, I think you're right. I think I was getting so worked up about this that, you know, when you were like, "Hey man, just chill, like you're good. Like I'm telling you what to do. You're doing a great job. You're executing. Just understand that. Don't be questioning yourself. Just do what I tell you and keep working hard like you have been, and just stop the psychological, like, you know, warfare that's going on in your own mind. Just chill. Just understand you're doing everything right."
You got to a point where I said, "Do you have any more anxiety?" And you said,
I know what you're going to say.
You said, I guess, let me back up a little bit. There was two things that were causing anxiety. One was the fact that you were overanalyzing. Okay. You were overanalyzing and second guessing even yourself a lot of times. The second thing that we did touch on in one of the other podcasts that we did was the fact that you were doing the vapes. Right. And then when we were able to pull that out,
I felt like garbage at that time too.
Right. You were vaping a lot.
Yeah.
And then when you were able to detoxify your system, and you did it because you thought that this was the right thing to do because you saw some other people do it.
Right.
Right.
Yep.
It's other bodybuilders that were doing it. And you said, okay, well, this is what they do. And this really helps.
Because I can give up anything at any moment. Like I have.
Yeah. You did. You went through withdrawals.
Yeah. It was horrible.
Cold turkey.
Yeah.
And it was one of those things where I'm like, "Are you sure you want to do this?" And you're like, "Yeah, I can do it. Watch."
Yeah.
And you did it.
Yeah.
You did. But you got to the point where that reduced your anxiety. Plus you started to really believe in yourself and the position that we were putting you in. And you started to really understand, I don't need to live off of this anxiety, because you were feeding off the anxiety.
Yep.
And the problem with doing that is it's very addictive. And what happened after that, when we lowered your anxiety level, because again, you're never going to completely get rid of anxiety,
right? Because
a part of anxiety is giving you angst or giving you a little bit of that. I feel it motivates you. It can motivate you to be able to get things out. Like, hey, look, I got to stay on top of my diet because I don't want to get my ass handed to me on stage. I better stay on top of my training because, again, I need to get those weak body parts up. I got to turn around and do these things. But you got to the point where you had anxiety about not having anxiety.
I knew you were going to say that.
And that was the craziest thing about it.
You're like, "Yo, you're not stressing. So now you're stressing about not stressing." What? That don't even make sense.
Yeah. I mean, for the listeners, what ended up happening was we had a conversation and you said, "I feel like I should be stressing and I'm not. I don't know what's wrong." I go, "You've never really felt normal before."
Yeah.
This was the closest thing he got.
Yeah.
And his demeanor's completely changed. I mean, this isn't the same, like even the conversation we're having right now, and people who are listening to this who know Derek for a while, know this isn't this is like not what you used to get. You used to be chip on your shoulder, Derek, over the top. Let me try to really think about what I'm about to say because I need to turn around and be very edgy, or I need to portray a certain role or come across a certain way, Derek. That's the way he used to be.
And when you're in that moment, you don't really think, you're like, no, I have a good heart. I know who I am. But like, you don't see what other people see. Like it's very, very, very hard to see yourself from another person's perspective. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, man, I think we've come a long way for sure.
Big changes.
Well, it's good to have close people in your circle who will call you on things that you don't always see.
But yeah, it kind of goes to saying like, you know, you were saying like how you're never going to get rid of all the anxiety or stress. It's kind of like saying like how last year I said, man, like that was like the smoothest, best prep. Like I felt the healthiest and everything. But at the end of the day, like there was still some suffer that goes into it. It's just not this. There's a difference between the way I felt last year and in previous years. And so I want to compare it to the anxiety and stress. You're not ever going to get rid of all of it. Just like you're never going to get rid of all the suffer and sacrifice of bodybuilding too, that it takes to truly be an Olympia champion. But there is a different way to go about it.
Yeah. You don't have to break up class and put it into your shoes and do cardio. And that's where
do you remember that time that you called me like late at night, man? It was like almost midnight. I feel like my time. You were still living in California at the time. And I think I was a couple weeks out from the Olympia or something. And I was really tired. And you're like, hey, what are you doing? I go, I'm literally like laying in bed. I'm literally just laid down. You're like, I need you to get up. I'm like, okay. And I don't know why you had me get up or whatever, but you're like, okay, what's your weight? What's this? I'm like, okay, I told you. You go, well, get your cardio shoes on. And I said, are you serious? And you're like, yeah, man, you want to win? You put your cardio shoes on. I literally paused and I go, okay, what do you want me to do? And you started busting out laughing. You're like, nah, I'm playing with you, man.
Yeah, I was going to say, I probably was busting your balls.
Yeah, you did. You're like, nah, I'm playing. You just passed the test though. I was like, oh, okay.
You're telling me I didn't actually have to do cardio those few times you called me at 1 a.m.?
I remember the story now. Let me tell you why I did this. Because I said, if you are that miserable, why are you on social media posting as much as you are? And why are you doing A, B, and C? Because lots of times I'll just check in on my social media later at night when I have time. And then all of a sudden I'm seeing him, but there's posts from him like every
that's
half
what
hour.
It was. Yeah.
And I said, brother, you need to get off the social media. You need to take breaks. Go ahead and do it throughout the day, but do it in segments. Because again, that obsessive compulsive gene's on there.
Dude, he would call me and be like, "Hey, what's your phone time?" I'm like, "What are you talking about?"
Yes.
Like how much? Like
screen time?
Yeah, your screen time. I'm like, "What is that?" He goes, "Send me how much screen time or whatever it is." Like,
and he sends it to me, and all it said was yes. He was on his screen. There's nobody that I know that I would go and somebody had just posted. Jay would just post, and it says 2 minutes ago he liked it. And
I've noticed that too. I have noticed that. I've noticed
Derek.
that.
I'm trying to be the first, man.
Yeah. You know what the funny thing is you have told me a similar thing though, as far as like time on stuff like that. And I'm like, honey, I'm your social media manager. And
yeah,
it's
but
like,
that's taken away from your planning.
Yeah.
So
but I was like, but it is
planning.
it's a great point about just general mental health. I'm like,
right.
You could do everything else better if you just get it done, pop out. You know,
and that's
like,
the thing.
What you need to.
You can't be a slave to social.
Yeah.
You can't be a slave. And I want to just touch on this really quick. Everybody who's trying to stay in shape to try to get likes or try to do these crazy heavy ass weights, right? You got guys like Larry Wheels who that's what he does. Mm-hmm. That's kind of part of his, I don't want to say gimmick, but that's part
his brand.
That's a much better term. As part of his brand is doing really heavy weights. Bradley Martin does the same thing. All these guys, they'll take 2 blondes and put one on each side of the bench and turn around and bench them. Those are things that are a part of their brand. But when it comes to bodybuilding, I feel that it can be a detriment when you try to over-focus on being able to focus on doing heavy weights for likes or doing stuff that's going to always impress your followers. I think that you have to turn around and do that. Even on the women's side, it's like, how much more scantily dressed do you need to be? Or how much more skin do you have to show to get more and more likes? Because everything is almost to the point where people have gotten numb with it. Yeah. And I feel like that's when you have to turn around and be like, if you want to connect with your audience, I tell people, connect with your audience, talk to them, be able to let them know why you're doing what you're doing with your training or your nutrition or what's going on in your life. Converse with them. Let them know, pull back the curtains and be able to know who you are. And if you do have products that you want to endorse, whatever brand you're with, then converse with them so you can tell them, hey, this is part of the solution. You need
to build trust first.
100%.
They don't, it's getting them to trust you with your time is one thing, which as far as watching your stuff, trust with engaging with you, sending messages, whatnot, but trusting with your wallet is really important too. And you're selling a product that you're recommending, you want to build up that trust first. But so many people skip over that. It's like, here's my butt, here's a product.
Yeah, just speaking of products, you guys have matching. You got your gold and black Evogen logos. You got blue and that. And I'm sitting here mismatched. I feel like the guy that's wearing Nike sweats with an Adidas shirt.
I think your bottle's in the way too.
Yeah, well, it's okay. I'm not using it for that. I wanted to, in my FSC 7, doesn't match any of this stuff. I'll put this.
Vintage.
Vintage. And you even got the gold ring.
I don't know about you. I didn't plan this. Did you plan yours? I bet you did.
You did.
He did.
He had to have. He had to have. He had to.
He's like, it's podcast.
He's got the logo, the matching logo to go with that. I'm
wearing my Evogen socks. I got
underwear.
Everything.
We don't even have socks or underwear, but that's not.
I got them made.
It's podcast day. We have to match.
Yeah.
Hey, I have matching shoes, man.
Wow, look at you.
All right.
What are those? Are those Jordans?
Yeah.
Wow.
Of course, man.
You see that flexibility? He got the shoe up into the frame. There you go.
Yeah, I'm stretching, man.
There you go. Good job.
That's as far as it goes, though.
Yeah. So, guys, I appreciate your time. We're gonna get ready to go train and be able to sit down and talk about what we're doing here, and get to weigh you in and see where you're at. So, I know you've kept yourself off the scale, but here we have to put you on the scale. So too bad I don't have a scale here. We could just weigh you in for everybody here and see where you're at.
Yeah.
Well, we'll do it maybe on the video.
They don't have one?
They don't have a podcast video?
We have a scale. It's an old ass busted one though.
I'm Spider, my podcast engineer. Grab a scale. No, we'll do it. We'll do it in the gym. I'm sure there's a couple of scales in the gym. We're going to go over to Absolute and get a good workout in. So we'll be able to get through that, and maybe we'll video it.
All right.
Yeah. Well, maybe
give the people what they want.
Yes. So if you guys want to see that, go to the Evogen channel, sign up. We're going to go ahead and we're going to shape a video of a workout with Derek. And if we can find a scale that works.
What are we training today?
I think what are you on?
I took yesterday as a rest day, but I trained hard for like 5 days straight. I've done everything. So I'm pretty fresh, ready to go for anything. I did
chesticles.
I did legs on
chesticles. Let's do chesticles because that's one of the everyone's asking me what I want you to improve on. I want your chest and your arms. That's the thing. I mean, you're doing a good job with the legs.
Yep.
Everything can get better. Remember me, I'm just never happy. But at the end of the day, we're always chasing perfection. You'll never get there, but we will be chasing it.
See, I like that. That's why we click, man. Because I'm the same. I'm right there with you. Like, I just want to be the best I can possibly be.
No, you wanted to be the white Phil Heath. That's what he said to me.
I said, "Can you make me the next Phil Heath?" I could get you close to Jay Cutler, but
Phil Heath, But yeah. So guys, again, thank you so much. Hany Rambod got Austin as well as the reigning 212 champ, Derek Lunsford, and that's the truth.